Chapter 4. New York Bleeds. Part 1. The Woman Before the Night. New York does not welcome anyone. It measures them. It watches who bends, who begs, who breaks. Then it decides who is worth remembering. Nova Terrance was not measured. She was established. From the noise of the city, from millions of voices fighting to matter, Nova became the woman who decided which voices were heard. Her agency controlled reputation, media, scandals, silence, exposure. Careers rose because she allowed them to rise. Others disappeared because she understood that truth mattered less than timing, and timing belonged to those with power. Nova did not chase power. She curated it. Beautiful, yes, undeniably. But her beauty was not what made her dangerous. It was the way she listened, the way she entered a room and understood everyone's weakness before anyone spoke, the way she made people feel chosen before deciding how useful they were. Nova did not seduce loudly. She seduced by existing. By morning, she was control. By night, she returned to a marriage where control had begun to rot. Henry had loved her once. Or perhaps he had loved the woman he expected marriage would create, a softer Nova, a slower Nova, a wife who would eventually step away from the world she had built and become available to him. A wife first, a mother eventually, a woman whose power could be admired as long as it did not compete with him inside their own home. But Nova did not shrink. After marriage, she worked harder. After the first year, she did not become more domestic. She became more visible. Her agency expanded. Her name carried heavier weight. Her hours became longer, her calls more urgent, her presence more desired by people far more powerful than Henry. And Henry began to understand that Nova was not going to retire into his expectations. So he made a decision. One night, Nova came home drunk, not careless, not broken. Just exhausted in that polished way successful people learn to disguise. Her heels came off near the door. Her laugh was quieter than usual. Her guard, for once, was lowered. Henry reached for her the way he always did. Nova did not reject him. She almost never did. But that night was different. Henry had a second intention, and Nova, she didn't pay attention. She was too tired and focused on trying to convince herself everything was normal. There was no protection, no care, no conversation, only a decision made inside the body of a woman who had not made it with him. Months later, Nova knew she was pregnant. She knew where, when, how. A woman like Nova did not leave her life to chance. She controlled calendars, contracts, narratives, crises, men with money, women with secrets, entire public images built on lies. Having children had not been part of her plan, not then, not under those terms. So when the truth settled in her body, she understood exactly when she had lowered her guard, and she suspected he did it on purpose. She said nothing. She did not scream. She did not accuse. She adapted. Not to Henry, to her son. Roland became the center of her world, her softness, her only sacred thing. Nova rearranged time, routines, and protection around him. She became a mother with the same ferocity she brought to everything else, but she did not become Henry's obedient wife. Work came after Roland. Henry came after what was left, and what was left was usually exhaustion. At night, Henry still reached for her, wanting proof that she belonged somewhere within his reach. Sometimes Nova let him close because refusing took more energy than surrendering. And somewhere in the middle of his closeness, while Henry held her like something he feared losing, Nova understood with terrifying clarity that she no longer loved him. Not anymore. Worse than that, she could not remember exactly when it had ended. There was no clean wound, no single betrayal she could point to and say, there, That was the death of us. Only erosion, slow, quiet, complete. Henry did not notice. For him, sex was connection, relief, something alive between them again. For Nova, it was physical, contained, almost procedural. Her only active thought was control, not affection, not memory, not desire. Only one boundary, sharp and silent inside her mind. She would not get pregnant again. She made sure of it, without discussion, without apology. Only stillness. And eventually, Henry began living beside a woman he could touch, but no longer reach. Then, Arielle Huxley arrived. Not loudly, not dramatically. She entered Nova's office like someone who understood space without needing to claim it. Reception changed before anyone understood why. Conversations lowered. Attention shifted. Arielle was new to New York, but she did not move like someone trying to belong. She observed first. Structure, hierarchy, weakness. When asked what she needed, her answer was professional. Services, influence, positioning. But her attention did not stay on business. It found Nova, and stayed there just a little too long. Nova noticed. Of course she noticed. Arielle did not look at her the way men did. There was no obvious hunger, no clumsy admiration, no attempt to impress. Arielle looked at her like she was reading architecture. Their first conversation was supposed to be business. It was not. "You already know the outcome before you start," Arielle said softly. Nova smiled. "That's what people pay me for." Arielle tilted her head. "No, that is what you do to people." Silence settled between them. Charged. Nova should have disliked the accuracy. Instead, she remembered it. After that, Arielle kept returning. Meetings became necessary. Calls became longer. Reviews became excuses. Nova called it business. Arielle allowed the lie. But both of them knew. Something had begun. Arielle saw the curiosity Nova refused to name, the restraint, the way she did not step forward, but never stepped far enough away to end the possibility. And for once, Arielle did not force anything. She let Nova come closer. The fashion show changed everything. Arielle planned it herself, every fabric, every model, every transition, every light. Not because she had to, but because she wanted control over how the night would feel. And somewhere beneath that decision, she knew Nova would be there. She was right. That night, Nova stood before the mirror longer than usual. Her hair was different, softer, straightened instead of held in its natural curls. The change was subtle, but intentional. Henry noticed. "Why tonight?" Nova adjusted her earring. "It's an important event." "You always have important events." She looked at him through the mirror. This one matters. Technically, she was not lying. At the event, Arielle did not perform beauty. She embodied it. The room bent around her. Models moved through light and shadow. Music pulsed low, like blood beneath the floor. Every pause, every glance, every movement felt designed to hold the room captive. Nova watched first as a professional, then as something else. Because Arielle was not simply beautiful. She was impossible to ignore. After the show, Arielle did not call for Nova. She simply allowed the space, and Nova crossed it. In the private room, the world outside disappeared. Arielle did not initiate. She waited. That was what undid Nova. Not pressure, permission. Nova stepped forward. The kiss was immediate, not hesitant, inevitable. Like something that had already happened in silence long before their bodies admitted it. Nova pulled her closer, firm and decisive, claiming the moment the way she claimed everything she wanted. Arielle answered with a softness that was not surrender, but invitation. "Careful," Arielle murmured against her lips. Nova smiled. "Too late." After that night, there was no balance left. Touch became need. Proximity became necessity. Restraint dissolved without either of them naming it. There was no plan, no structure, no intention beyond staying inside a moment that felt too alive to interrupt. Nova led it first, confident and precise, her body speaking a language older than strategy. Arielle answered differently. Where Nova commanded, Arielle enveloped. Where Nova took, Arielle drew her deeper. It was not about control. Not yet. It was about need. When they finally left, it was not to separate. It was to find somewhere the night could continue. Nova's car became that place. Not elegant, not planned, private enough, immediate enough. What happened there was not polished. It was not designed. It was release. Something real breaking through layers of control, hunger without performance, desire without audience. After that night, there was no going back. Nova did not stop. She did not slow down. Her absences became noticeable. Her marriage became paperwork and silence. Henry felt the distance even before he understood its shape. Conversations failed before they began. Presence became obligation. Marriage became an arrangement held together by a child and paperwork. Nova thought about telling him, more than once, but there was always a reason not to. Timing, work, Roland, the divorce she had not yet begun, the empire she needed to protect. Later became safer. Later became always. And in that silence, her life split in two. On one side, she was a mother. On the other, she belonged to Arielle in every way she allowed herself to belong to anyone, without asking her to become smaller. She gave Nova houses, apartments, cars, diamonds, places where Henry's hands and lawyers could not reach. Beautiful things, useful things, places where Nova could exist beyond Henry's reach, beyond court documents, beyond the slow violence of a marriage becoming legal warfare. To Nova, Arielle became more than desire. She became stability, a beautiful escape, a dangerous, safe place. Because the divorce had begun moving against her. Henry was hurt, and hurt became strategy. He wanted custody, assets, half of what Nova had built, perhaps more if the court could be convinced she had become unstable, absent, reckless. He felt abandoned, replaced, humiliated. Every legal conversation became another way to punish her for leaving before she admitted she had left. Nova was losing ground, and Arielle gave her ground. That mattered, more than Nova wanted to admit. But even in Arielle's generosity, something felt incomplete. But Nova still did not fully trust her. Arielle had no past Nova could trace, no clean history, no identity that behaved like a human life should. For a woman built on information, that was not romantic. It was a warning. So Nova kept part of herself protected, even while loving her, even while wanting her, even while returning to her again and again. Arielle did not see the distance as caution. She saw it as something to heal, something to secure, something to keep. A return to feeling, to wanting, to the fragile, humiliating, magnificent ache of caring about someone without strategy. Nova revived something Arielle believed had been buried beneath decades of beauty, politics, indulgence, and performance. Something human, something vulnerable, something that made the immortal world feel, for a moment, less like repetition. And the artifact Arielle carried began to whisper into that open space. At first, the thoughts were delicate, almost indistinguishable from longing. She should stay. She should choose you. She says forever because she means it. Arielle listened, not because she was weak, because the whisper sounded too much like hope. Time passed. Months turned into years. Nova reshaped her life without announcing it, and then, one night, Arielle mixed her blood into Nova's wine. Not enough to fully own her, only enough to begin, making Nova her gull. A thread, a warmth, a pull that felt natural because Nova wanted it to be natural. Arielle told herself it was protection, a safeguard, a way to keep Nova close while Nova fixed her life. But she was already too deep to see the truth clearly. She only saw Nova, and Nova, without meaning to, fed the obsession. In moments of closeness, when desire softened her caution, she said the words Arielle needed most. I love you. I want to be with you. Forever. For Nova, those words belonged to the moment. For Arielle, they became vows. A toreador can make an altar out of a sentence, and Arielle did. The artifact around her throat whispered into the wound of her longing. She asked for this. She wants forever. Give it to her. So Arielle began to prepare, not as a monster setting a trap, as a lover planning a gift, carefully, quietly, completely. Nova was still human, still divided, still holding a life Arielle did not fully know, and in that space, between what Arielle believed and what Nova was actually ready for, something began to fracture. Slowly, inevitably. Once it started, it did not stop. Nova thought she had found a place to breathe. Arielle thought she had found something worth keeping forever. Neither understood yet that love, in the hands of monsters, does not always protect. Sometimes it preserves, sometimes it cages, and sometimes it kills before it learns what it has taken.